welcome to another one of my writer interviews. Now, with my books, I mean, not only are they science fantasy, but a lot of the underlying themes of my books are very esoteric and spiritual, and so I have one foot in that world as well. And so I not only have a lot of kind of fantasy sci-fi writer friends, I also have a lot of friends who are into the more spiritual side of things, who write non-fiction, who I study to write my books, and INNA SEGAL is one of those people. And that's who I've got in my writing garret today. So before I interview INNA, who is a world-renowned healer who has been traveling around the world and teaching her healing to people, and before we meet her, I'll just give you a little bit more background.
INNA SEGAL is a gifted healer in the field of energy medicine and a pioneer in the exploration of the role that human emotions, trauma, and belief play in our health and well-being. She can see illness and energetic blocks in a person's body, explain what is occurring, and guide people through self-healing processes. INNA's award-winning best-selling book, The Secret Language of Your Body, was followed by the equally successful The Secret Life of Wellness. Both publications have brought INNA worldwide recognition as a healer, professional speaker, author, and television presenter. She is also the author of the award-winning The Secret Language of Color Cards, the Heal Yourself reading cards, and her latest oracle decks, the sublimely depicted mystical healing reading cards, and the gorgeous daily healing cards. INNA's healing products, techniques, frequency, radio, television, and personal appearances are changing the lives of millions of people around the world. Her writing teaches us how to tap into the energy, symbology, inner wisdom, and vitality of our soul source in order to learn the true language of the body.
Hello, here we are. This is INNA, who
Hi.
I promised was going to be in the writer's garret today to be chatting with us. And we wanted to be talking about, well, because INNA is one of our first non-fiction authors, and she's one of our healers, so we wanted to kind of talk about like what encouraged you to kind of get into writing in the first place, or healing, because you've had quite a journey with your health, and that's kind of what got you into it, isn't it?
Yeah, so I actually always wanted to be a writer. So that was before the healing part.
Yeah.
So I actually went to uni and was doing professional writing and editing and stuff like that. And I actually wrote a play that was performed before writing my other books, and
And she's telling me she can't write fiction. I don't believe her.
And I was writing a film script, and then I always had issues with my health, and especially my back. I had back pain, digestive issues. I had psoriasis everywhere. And I got to a place where I was going to see people constantly to get help.
Yeah.
And I just wasn't getting the help that I needed. And I think everybody, when it comes to health as well, everybody has some kind of a turning point. And my turning point was going to see this chiropractor, and he basically just went, "Your body's stuck." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know." And he said, "There's nothing I can do about it. Go home."
Oh.
So I was
disappointing.
I had seen him for a long time as well.
Yeah.
I was pretty angry at that point, and I just went, my body's stuck. It must have a language, but I don't know the language that this body's speaking, so I actually need to find the language.
Yeah, what a beautiful way of putting it too.
You know, I have to say I was pretty angry on the way home, but I made it and I was doing acting as well because I really loved acting.
Yeah.
You know, and so I was doing a lot of acting classes and different little things.
And it sucks when your health is holding up your creativity. There's nothing.
I was doing acting and I loved it, and
Yes.
and in acting you get to learn things like breathing and connecting to your body and kind of meditating in some way.
Yeah.
Visualizing.
Yes.
Right? And so I just went home and I just went, I'm going to heal myself. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I have no idea how I'm going to do it, but I'm just going to do it.
Yep.
And I just started really moving with the pain as opposed to resisting the pain.
Yes. That's really, really important. I agree.
You know, and as I was doing that, I kind of just went, so if this body has a language, you know, I need help. I don't know how to do it. So I kind of went, if there is something divine out there, then I want help and I want it now. And I felt this warmth just enter through my body and like a gold light. And then I just went, I want to see what it looks like in my body. I don't even know where it was coming from, these thoughts.
Yeah.
And it was literally as in somebody pressed a button and the light went on. And I could see, like one of the characters in your books, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Like, whoa.
You know, I could see my back, like I had this X-ray vision.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I just went, oh my God. And then my next, you know, and then I kind of went, well, what is this about? What's happening? And a lot of images and feelings and experiences started to show up. And so I started realizing the language of the body is the language of the soul. You know, so what the soul experiences is what the body holds.
Yeah.
You know, and so I started working with it and, you know, and letting it go in a way that I knew how.
Yeah.
And eventually, well, I fell asleep that night and the next day, because my back was twisted as well. I forgot to mention that.
Yes.
And so when I woke up, my back wasn't twisted anymore, and I was really scared to move because I was like, if I move,
it feels
it
really
might
good.
not be real.
Yep. I've been there. I've absolutely been there myself.
Because I, you know, like we get really doubtful and.
Yep.
And anyway, so I realized that, oh my God, you know, something happened, and for the next 3 weeks, I didn't really get out of bed very much, you know. And I kind of just went, what's going on? Like, I just keep connecting and tuning into my body. And when I did get out of bed 3 weeks later, it was a very funny experience that happened. I got out of bed because a friend of my ex-husband's was coming over, and she was a really, really good writer.
Right.
And I was actually at that time studying writing still.
Right.
This time, except that I wasn't in uni anymore. I was doing it in TAFE because I felt like they had better teachers.
Yeah.
And so she came to help me write something. And so we're sitting there and we're typing. And I haven't told anyone about my experience, just, you know, in myself. And then all of a sudden I turn over and look at her, and I see this cartoon-looking, you know, image of the liver above her head, and I was like, and I'm doing this. And she's like, is something in your eye? And I said to her, oh my God, can I ask you a really strange question? And she's like, yeah. And I said, do you have problems with your liver? And she's like, yeah, I really do. And I was like, and when I said that, the image actually changed, and I saw an older man, and I had a feeling it was her grandfather.
Right.
And I said, was your grandfather, did he have the same issue? And he said, yeah. And then the image changed again, and I saw that he had been in a concentration camp.
Oh my God.
And she agreed with that. And then I said, do you get nightmares? And she said, yes. And I said, well, this is coming, you know, there's a connection. And then I remember saying to her, you know, like, this issue's in your DNA.
Oh,
and
this is interesting.
And I'm literally like sitting there and going, oh my God, like what happens in the DNA? I never paid any attention at school when it came to biology or French. And then I ended up working in France for 7 years, right? Because I kept thinking like, oh, like, why would I need that in my life?
Exactly.
So she actually, and then I told her all this other stuff that was private, and then she called her mother. She didn't know. And her mother said everything I had said was the truth. God. And I think it was 2.5 years later, she found out that the issue that she was dealing with was in her DNA, like through tests.
Yep.
And I just remember sitting there and going, I actually don't know who's more shocked, her or I, because I'm like, what happened?
I do the same thing in my writing, where I'll just write something that I think is fictional, and then all of a sudden there'll be a news article, and it's like all of a sudden they've found this place that I described, and it's like, oh my God, okay, cool.
And I'm having like flashbacks of your different books because I've read them all. You know,
we read each other. See, I have the whole collection here,
you know,
which I use often.
So it's kind of funny as you're saying things. I'm like, oh, I just got a flash from this character and that one.
So when did you write? Because here we have it, The Secret Language of the Body. So did somebody sort of come to you and go, you should write a book, or did you just sort of go, I've got to put this down in a book?
There were so many things that actually happened with it. Like, one of the biggest things I want to say was everybody was saying to me, it's so hard to get a publisher. You're never going to get a publisher,
I know,
right?
I got that too, right?
Everybody gets there, right? And
so wrong.
And I was like,
don't believe them.
I'm just not buying this.
No.
And in my mind, I was like, it's going to be really easy. It's going to be really easy. It's just going to be a flow, and when it happens, it happens.
That's exactly right.
Right? So I was doing that, and I got quite a few publishers in that way. You know? And basically, I was doing one-on-one healing sessions. You know, this is several years later, and I had before that I did a lot of interviews and journalism and things like that.
Yeah.
And then I was doing, you know, I had actually started writing a different book, and I was seeing a lot of clients. And
was it fiction?
No.
No.
I thought the play was fiction, but not
the play was fiction though.
And people were coming, and you know, and I would be giving them processes to do, and then they'd come back, and I could see in their body they hadn't done it, and I would say, what happened? And they'd go, I lost the piece of paper. And I was like, oh my God, I need to write a book, you know.
It's like a prescription. Do you not understand?
Exactly. And the books that were out there, I just, like, I'm one of those people, I will not write something that's out there. Like, I'm not interested in that, you know. No. So I need to bring some new perspective.
Yeah, absolutely.
On what, you know, it might be there because, you know, everything is there, but your perspective has to be quite...
And bringing it into the current language and making it relevant now.
Exactly. So I was looking at a book that I'd want to recommend to clients, basically. And that I would need when I was...
referencing.
Yeah, or needing, you know, was in a situation where I just wasn't in a place to be tuning in, you know, and I just needed something.
Yeah.
And I just went, hey, I can't see anything around. And so that thought was in my head at the time. And I also loved colour, right?
Oh, yes.
I really loved colour.
Beautiful.
And I had met this publisher who was mainly publishing cards at that time, Blue Angel, and he was Tony, and he had a bookshop.
Yeah.
And I was talking to him, you know, at different times, and he just went, and one day I said to him, can I meet you? I see that you're starting to publish more books, and I have a lot of ideas.
Yeah.
Sorry, cards. I was like, I want to do a card deck. You know, I have a lot of ideas.
They're so beautiful. They're just like, there's just colour everywhere. You just, oh, I know. It's great. I use them a lot.
Thank you. So I just remember going, and I also had written a kind of like sort of book. And
sort of book.
Yeah, sort of book. So I was like, so I was bringing that to him plus ideas for the cards, and he just went, and I had also already been writing down for workshops that I was teaching what different parts of the body were relating to, because I was seeing so many clients from all over the world because I was doing distance healing as well. So I was like,
that's the beauty of it.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, it's connected. This is the same, and this person's in Japan, and this person's in America, and this person's here, you know. And so so I brought, you know, the book, and he was like, no, I'm not interested. And then he went, and then I brought like 8 different ideas for card decks, because I like to be prepared. You know, when I show up, I'm like, here's everything, you know, which one do you like? And he went, well, if you put this one and this one and this and this together, that would be a great book, and I'd publish it. And I was like, is that easy? And he was like, yeah. So go write it. And I already wrote quite a bit of that type of thing as well. And he's like, go write it, come back to me, I'll publish it. He's like, I'm happy to give you a contract.
It's very hard to get a publisher.
And then the thing what you have to be aware of is not pushing, when somebody
That's
doesn't
right.
want it. It's almost like a relationship.
It is.
It's like I remember I met a publisher in the UK later, because I really wanted my book to be published in the UK, and because I was traveling a lot in America.
Yeah, because people over there start to complain, don't they? Because they go over there and they go, oh, I've got to ship it from Australia.
Yeah, it's too expensive and stuff. So
Exactly.
I was teaching in the UK, and there was a publisher who's really interested, and then there was a publisher in America that we were trying to approach. And the publisher in America was like, no. And so I sat there one day and I was like, well, hold on a second. If I'm gonna be with a publisher, I don't want to convince them about my book.
Exactly right.
Because then they'll never promote it. Even if they published it, right? So I was like, I'm not going to convince anyone, but what I need is I need to connect to a publisher that how am I going to know? How am I gonna know?
Yeah.
It's like, because this publisher is going to, when I speak to them, they're going to say, these are the words I thought, they're going to say, I love your book. I've been waiting for a really long time for this book. I really want to publish it. So those were my words. And it was very funny, like the synchronicity. I remember I was in Sydney and I was like, okay, I really, really want this book to be published in America. And somebody that I was working with in France said, well, let's go to New York. I've got a really cheap ticket. You're going to come to Paris, so let's go for a week to New York. And I was like,
great idea.
Sitting there reflecting on it, and I just went, no, I don't want to go to New York until my book's published. I had that thing, and I was like, but it needs to be published. It's like, okay, universe, come on, hurry up. And I had this feeling that something would happen. And so I went back home, and within a few days, I was in Melbourne at the time.
Right.
And within a few days, I got a phone call, and this lady was talking, like she said to me, oh, hey, I love your book, and I actually want to buy 20 copies and blah, blah, blah. And she goes, and do you have a publisher in America for this? And I was like, no, I'm looking for it. And she said, at the time, she goes, well, do you know The Secret? And it was a few years after The Secret had already been out, and everyone was like, oh my God, the movie was out. And I was like, yeah, of course I know. And she said, well, I'm really good friends with the publisher of The Secret, and
they
she
did
said,
a beautiful job on that too.
They did, and she said, and I love your book, and would you be okay if I sent him a copy? And I was like, sure. And she said, why don't you go downstairs and have a look at the website? And it was amazing. I went downstairs and I'm typing the website, and my ex-husband was next to me, and the website literally came out into my face, and I was like, oh my God. I'm like, this is the publisher. This is it. That's them, And he's like, are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure? And it was really funny because he kept saying, no, I think it's going to be Simon Schuster, and they were called Beyond Words.
Yeah, right.
It's like, no, it's going to be Simon Schuster. And I was like, I don't know. I'm just really feeling it.
Yeah.
And so within weeks, I think I got a phone call from the woman, Cindy, her name was, who was the publisher with her ex-husband Richard.
Yeah.
And she said to me, the first thing she said to me, Inna, I've been waiting for this book for 20 years. I love it. I've used it. I want to publish it, And at that time, they were merging with Simon and Schuster.
Oh my!
Right?
God.
So I was like,
you can't write this stuff, can you? You just,
and so it's like that. And the same, I got a publisher in France because the lady who was helping me had a shop to run events, and she was like, well, I'm ordering from this publisher. She's like, come on, let's go. We're going to have a conversation with him about your book. And he's like, all right, I'll take it. So, you just...
the universe always provides.
But what I would say to people who want to be writers is don't get ahead of yourself.
Yeah.
So, because I've had, I don't know, you probably have had this, where I've had people come to me and go, hey, who's the best publisher to get this published with? And I'm like, what's your book? And they go, it's in my head, I haven't written it.
Oh.
And you're like, you don't want to do that because, somebody who's been published a lot, it's not that, we're like, oh my God, we're so amazing. It's just that, you know, we don't have a lot of time, you know, because we're working and doing and creating. And so you need to come when it's done.
Yeah, when it's as beautiful and as absolutely polished and buffed as you can possibly get it, when it's been through editors, when it's been through your friends, when it's been through your enemies. If you can get them to read it as well, even better, you know.
And be open to feedback.
Yes.
Because if you're not...
Exactly. If you just think everything's set in stone, there's going to be a lot of blood. Really, when it comes to editing, there's going to be blood, sweat and tears, and it's not going to be nice. But if you just go with the intention that everybody's doing this to make it the best it can be, and you understand that of your editor and of the people who are reading it, that they want you to succeed. They're not trying to put you down. But, you know, if they just tell you everything you do right, there's something wrong, okay? Because there's usually something wrong, you know, unless you're me. No, I'm kidding.
Well, you know, I mean, we get the editors to, you know, come back and go, oh my God, like, this doesn't make sense, and change this and do this, and, you know,
what does this mean?
Yeah.
I get that one.
And I'm like, I'm writing another card deck at the moment, and twice, honestly, I've had messages from the editor going, really think that you should reread this and change this and this and this. And, you know, of course your first reaction is like, what? No, I don't want to do that. And then you read it and you're like, okay, yeah, I see that. That would make more sense.
Or somebody's asking you a question, they're going, and so what does this mean? And you're thinking, oh God, of course it means blah, 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 blah.
I know.
And then you go, oh yeah, that's the bit I didn't put in. Oops. I just put that in.
I think for me the funniest was when you don't have the book, but
oh, sorry.
and that's okay. It's out of print in Australia.
Oh, okay.
So it's fine. Yeah. I was writing my book, The Secret of Life Wellness, and there were 6 editors, literally.
Oh, I do have that book, but I have it on an ebook.
Okay, yeah. So there was literally 6 editors, right?
Wow, that's a lot.
And I was like,
cope with that?
I didn't cope very well.
No, that would not be good.
And at the same time, I was doing...
and all at once or just separately?
Like every 2 weeks, you had to do this thing. Like you
this is what I talk about. I think publishers are setting out to torture their authors. Can you just stop it? Really? Just make the process a bit easier.
I know.
You know?
It was crazy.
Together.
Crazy. And I was traveling around the world at the time, and I just remember crying because in my breaks I had to do that, and I was in Paris and I couldn't leave the house because I had to do this editing, you know, and it was hilarious.
Oh no!
Like, because
that's sad.
One of the editors was a man, and
a man,
you know, and I was writing about archetypes.
Okay.
You know, so I don't know if you remember reading it. I was writing about the different archetypal energies.
Yeah.
And one of them was the prostitute archetype. He did not like that word. He's like, can you change that to something else? I'm like, no, because that's the archetypal energy. I cannot change that.
Yeah.
And he was like, it's not sitting right with me. And so sometimes you also have to fight for it. And I was like, sorry, it's not changing.
Yes, exactly right.
You know?
It's like, come out of your little bubble, open it up and just go, you know. I mean, my editor, my first editor, well, actually she was my second editor, Stephanie, who was with me for a very long time. I mean, because she was editing me, she got an esoteric dictionary, so she didn't have to keep asking me what things meant, and she could look it up and go, oh, yes, that makes perfect sense, you know. Or I'll just add this bit, you know. And it's like, that's the way
helpful,
it should be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's helpful.
Yeah, it was very helpful. She was great.
Yeah, and I think then you have translation. Oh my God.
Oh no. Oh yeah. I mean, I've heard some horror stories, but then I've heard some good stories too. Like just from my books. So.
I know sometimes they pick words, and you're like, oh my God.
Is like, that what that means?
That's not the thing that I meant. And I know, you know, I had this issue with Russian translations because I have a Russian background, and
yes. Oh, I have a funny Russian story. When you finish,
keep going. And so I'm, I get the book and I'm reading, and I'm like, what? This doesn't make any sense. This is not the words. This is not what I'm saying. And yeah, it was pretty full on. because and then I remember getting a review on this from somebody in Russia, and they said, like this book has so many great aspects to it, but it's so badly written.
No, that's just not fair. Translated? You meant translated, I think. Because when I actually got a Russian deal, right, I was so looking forward to having my Russian books. And everybody go, what Russian books? Well, funny story. We got the deal, and we kept, like they said, we're going to publish in spring. And then quite a while went by, and I got on to someone going, what happened to that Russian edition? She came, I'll check. And we got another email back going, they're going to publish in spring, And I mean, after a while, I think we got quite a few of these a few years over. And I'm going, is this like a Russian publishing joke or something, that there is no spring in Russia? It's just like, but I mean, they paid me and then they just didn't, or maybe they did and I just didn't find out about it. I don't know.
I still get messages from people in Russia going, where can I find the book?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's quite interesting. Can you contact the publisher? I'm like, I don't know. Wow. But yeah, publishing and writing is such a interesting business.
It is. And so we've got a couple of new decks, haven't we? Yeah. We've got the Mystical Healing deck and the Daily Healing. This is so cute. I love these decks because I love the little pop top too. But this one's so pretty. So this one's fairly new. So you've got like lots of sayings on one side, but you've got all these just gorgeous little Tree of Life images, but they're all different color because we love color. Mm-hmm. And so, oh my God, they're just adorable and really, really good. Like if you're a reader, when you're reading ordinary tarot, sometimes you can't understand why things come up, and which is why something with a little saying or a word or whatever, or just a phrase will kind of clarify it for you. So I find that when I'm reading, it's great to have cards that are like a really good, quick clarifying card, If you're just looking at it going, no, that's not fitting with the story, Something like that is really, really good. But the Mystical Healing Tarot, this is just absolutely gorgeous. I mean, I put some pictures up on my Facebook page and you should go have a look. And we use this one because we're thinking about, we're going to do a live read on Facebook. That's something else we had to talk about.
Yeah.
We got lost. But that's okay. We were thinking about doing a live and actually doing readings for people live on Facebook with the both of us there, because then you can get kind of like a broad view on what we might think of the cards that we pull. And we thought, I don't know, we might do it on a, weekend? I don't know. We'll sort it out. Anyway, we'll get it on Facebook. And then if you can't make the time, like if you're in another part of the world or whatever, you can just put your name down in the post and we'll kind of read you in between people and see if we can get to everyone. Yeah. So that is that. So what's next for you?
I am, as I mentioned, I'm working on another card deck more in relation back to the secret language of your body, where it's connected to different body parts but still giving you messages and understandings, of what is it that you need to look at in your life. You know? And at the same time you might bring it back and go, oh, there's something going on in this part of my body. And so it's going to be a really big card deck.
Affirmations, are definitely connected to health. I remember when my gallbladder went out, and I remember looking it up, and it was like the sweetness has gone out of life, and it was just absolutely spot on. Couldn't have been more spot on. And once you know what you're dealing with, and once you know what triggered this, it's so much easier to heal it.
Absolutely. Then you can embrace yourself and start to move forward. So I'm also writing a book slowly, and just going like, I want to put this bit in. Do I want to put that bit in?
So what's the book about? What's this one on?
Well, I realised, and I'm sure you have realised as well, that people are pretty time poor at the moment.
Oh my God, yeah.
And I like the idea of, like, I've done a lot of kind of explorations of different types of aspects of ourselves, and I did put different things on Facebook at times, and it's like everything from us understanding more about our spiritual nature and asking lots of questions to kind of ancestry and how do we take on that stuff, into healing and to, different aspects of relationships and just a variety of kind of things. So I kind of feel like the idea is that you can read one chapter and it's not too long, and you can sit there and you can really think into it, and you can go, and then you can go to the next, in the next, and it's kind of a building,
almost like a self-workshop.
Yeah, in a way, and a building of stretching your mind and opening up yourself to new ideas, but at the same time without getting too bogged down, because we are so time poor, and actually going, all right, I just get this little bit and now I'm going to
put that into practice.
Yeah.
Exactly, rather than trying to take it all in one weekend and then coming out of there just going, oh my God, I'm on overload. And
kind of like your books, I'm trying to get you to think for yourself. That's the biggest thing. Stretch. Think more.
Muscles.
Think deeper.
Get those muscles working up here and just like knock that negative talk on the head. It's really important at the moment, I think, not to get caught up in the hype that's going on. I mean, this is what the middle path is all about. It's about keeping your eye on what's going on, but not letting it affect you, and stop, yelling about burning buildings. If you're not actually seeing burning buildings in your sphere of experience, if it's just coming at you through the internet, question everything. Just question everything. That's all I've got to say.
Yeah, and actually the comment that you made, which I was having this major discussion with a few of my friends a few days ago, and it was like, so many of us, we want to see one side, whether it's the everything that's going wrong, or we actually we put like rose-colored glasses on and we go, oh, it's all beautiful, it's all amazing, it's fantastic.
Yeah, somewhere in the middle of that.
And I was saying to this friend of mine, I was like, I've done that at different times, especially with people when I've gone, oh, I just only want to see the good. I don't want to see anything that's not the positive. And I'm like, with those people, I've always crashed because the universe then goes,
well, you're living here.
Or I shouldn't say universe, like the intelligence of, maybe your higher self or your angel or your God kind of goes, actually, you're going to have to learn that there's the shadow and then there's the light. And I absolutely have to say that I loved the way you put that in your books.
Yeah.
And some of them where I was just like, oh my God. I reread them. I went through several stages of going, the dark side, the shadow, let me read this. And then I remember I was doing workshops like in Mexico at the different times, and I was like, everybody needs to read this. I hope it's in Spanish. Otherwise you have to learn English.
Yeah, no, I haven't done the Spanish version yet. Damn. But we'll get there. We will get there one of these days.
But yeah, it was amazing, like how you put that that we needed to really learn, in some of your books, the shadow side, and
Well, they taught me too. I mean, I was just putting down what I was actually learning and what was coming through. And I mean, they just drop these information dumps all the time, and I just go, oh, okay. And so I just put it down, and then later on I'll go research something else, and they'll be going, yeah, and they'll be confirming whatever it was that just came through before.
You did good research as well.
Yeah, I do. I do a lot of research.
That's why it's never boring in your world, right?
Exactly. There's always something. You'll find it here. Really. I've had a lot of people just get stuck at this bookshop.
I was trying to look at it before.
Anyway, that's all we've got time for. But we'd like to get Inna in again, maybe. And we're definitely going to do the card thing on Facebook. So look out for that. And if there's, I'll put websites and stuff probably over this bit while I'm talking, and then you can know where to find Inna and get information and find her on Facebook, and etc. etc.
Yeah, because I also do a lot of free stuff, like do a lot of free webinars and things like that you can connect with, and readings.
Yes, so there you go. So look out for that, and we're going to go and have a cup of tea. See you later. Bye.